Should you do power building? It's a big topic amongst powerlifters and even bodybuilders, or just people in the strength community. I've heard some people who say, "Hey, I'm just gonna be a power builder now." And I'm kind of like, okay. I mean, I guess you can call yourself a power builder, but a lot of times to me, I reference power building as a style. The whole point of this video is for you guys to understand a bunch about power building. What is power building? What's the purpose? What are the benefits? Who started power building? Who are current power builders right now that you might know? And by the end of the video, I'll give you my expert opinion on the idea of should you become a power builder? And then I'll give you a special tip at the end too on how to create a power building workout, which I'm very familiar with. I enjoy it. And I think there's a lot of cool things you're going to learn along the way. So let's start this thing off with what is power building? Power building is a blend powerlifting and bodybuilding tactics to build size and strength. Now, I like to tell people beforehand, when it comes to building size and strength, it's kind of controversial in the sense of like, okay, you can build size and strength when you work on your muscle fitness. But the problem is this: if you want to be the strongest, or if you want to be the biggest, at some point, something's got to give. Power building wants to build size and strength, but at some point, if you want to favor one over the other, your training has to kind of take a different shift in direction, because being big and being strong is great. But if you want to be the biggest, you're going to have to train a little differently. But if you want to be the strongest, you're going to have to train a little bit differently than that approach as well. But we'll talk more about that concept as we go through the video. But let's just think that you're an athlete who wants to get bigger and stronger. Then power building, a blend of powerlifting with bodybuilding principles, could be a good approach, because you're employing heavy compounds and tough isolation movements to really work on size development as well. So how did it start? How did power building start? I'm sure that someone is going to come in here and try to school me on this, and that's okay. And I'm not saying the origins start necessarily here, but growing up for myself, I remember power building got real huge when I was in high school. And some of the biggest names of individuals who were power building were individuals from Metroflex Gym in Arlington, Texas. Metroflex Gym is known to be one of the strongest gyms, not just in the United States, in the world. And it houses some of the biggest names of people in bodybuilding, like Ronnie Coleman and Branch Warren. And when those individuals worked out, they worked out intense. And what was cool about what they did, even if you want to tell me, oh, they're struggling through injuries right now, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about just talking about power building. When you talk about Ronnie and Branch, I even witnessed it. I would see them there, and they would do really heavy compounds. And then they would do really hard sessions after the fact. Like they would go from heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, heavy benches, and then they would go into a ton of chest flies, a ton of leg press, a ton of volume. They were blending the powerlifting and the bodybuilding principles. And the idea is this: when you start your exercise routine with a heavy compound, that's a very intense metabolic stimulus, different than any other approach you can take in the gym. Because I know for myself, as I grew to be older and I kind of went through different phases of lifting, I noticed that some people would go right into the gym and say, okay, today's bicep day. We're going to go do curls, more curls, more curls, more curls, and then we're leaving. But the problem with that approach is, I want you to think about this real quick. If I told you to do 10 reps at the preacher curl, and then I told you, okay, do 10 reps at the leg press, which one's going to be harder? The preacher curl or the leg press? It's going to be the leg press. Now, let's even take it a step further, okay? Let's just not worry about the leg press. Let's say I told you, okay, let's do 10 preacher curls, or let's do 10 barbell squats. Which one's harder? The barbell squat. Now, I know they're different muscle groups. I totally get that. But what I'm trying to tell you is that free weight compound movements are going to be tremendously harder than isolated single joint movements, maybe even on a machine. So if we go back to the preacher curl, that's a bicep movement, right? So let's think of a heavy compound bicep exercise we can do. One of the ones I really like is the chin up. Now, let's talk about this. If I told you to do 10 preacher curls or 10 chin-ups, which one's going to be harder? It's going to be the chin-ups. It might even be so hard you can't even do the chin-ups and you have to add a band or get a spotter. Nonetheless, the whole idea of power building is we're going to start off with a heavy compound stimulus to get you fatigued and then go into isolation for fatigue. Because guess what? If you want to get bigger and stronger, one of the most important variables of your workout is fatigue. Okay. You don't want to fatigue yourself so much that you can't get strong. But like I said, the debate of getting bigger and stronger is kind of crazy. Let's just focus on power building and we'll kind of get to those answers a little bit later. So who has that power building? Like I said, Ronnie Branch. I think even further back could have been Arnold Schwarzenegger, because when you look at his workouts, he was doing heavy sets of bench at five reps, incline at 5 reps, squats at 5 reps. And then obviously he would do higher volume throughout his workout. The whole idea of power building, start off with a heavy compound, like a squat, bench, or a deadlift, aka powerlifting, and then afterwards doing more tough, hard isolation exercises like you would see in bodybuilding. And like I mentioned, the benefits are you become much more metabolically fatigued because exercise order matters more. You're not just doing a bunch of isolation or too many compounds. You get a good blend of both, and you're hitting the right level of fatigue to stimulate the right level of growth. And that's the purpose. The purpose of powerlifting is getting bigger and stronger through strategically employing specific types of lifts within your workout routine, heavy compounds, squat, bench, deadlift, and then you go into your isolation movements after the fact. So a lot of you guys are going to start asking the question, should I do power building? And I think 100% of the people watching this video need to do it, to experience it, and to enjoy it, because I think it's a very undermined concept in strength training. So how would I do power building? I'm going to do it this way with you guys. I'm going to make this an easy tip. Here's how you can create a power building routine to make it really enjoyable for you to experience. So you're going to start off with a powerlifting movement, a variation of the powerlifting movement, and then 3 isolation movements afterwards to deconstruct the anatomy that you employed during those first 2 movements of your workout routine. So powerlifting movement, bodybuilding, bodybuilding. So let's pick the bench press. Everybody likes the bench, right? So you're going to start off benching. I want you to go between 3, 5, 6 reps. Some heavy duty workouts, 2 sets, build up to a top set of 3 reps, 5 reps, or 6 reps. And then you're going to do a variation of the bench press, which could be a couple things. You could do speed work, which is 70 to maybe 80% of your top set from before. Or instead of speed work, you can do a variation like a pin press, something that's tough and keep the intensity the same. So if you did 3 reps on bench, do 3 pin presses on bench. And then from there, let's think about the bench press. What does it work? Your chest, your triceps, and your shoulders. So now for the rest of the workout, let's do a chest movement for your 3rd, a shoulder for your 4th, and then a tricep for your 5th. And keep the volume high. I'm talking 12 reps, 20 reps, or more. So let's pretend we're doing a workout. 2 sets of 6 on bench. Okay. Now after that, let's do a heavy set of 6 on pin press. And then once that's done, let's go chest flies, 3 to 5 sets of 12. Let's do front raises, 3 sets of 12 reps. And then the triceps will go even more sets, 3 to 5 sets of maybe 20 reps. So maybe by the last thing you do, go the highest reps, 20 reps or more, just so you hit super massive fatigue and you get a lot of return on investment from that case. If you want to learn more about power building, feel free to reach out to us. Click the subscribe button, leave a comment. We got a ton of information about a bunch of other topics that could help you out. So give it a look. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. Let's have a good conversations and let's have some fun on the topic of power building. Thank you guys very much, and I hope you have a good day.